Hey everyone, and welcome back. So right now, I have just been talking for the last like 35 minutes, and I realized that I wasn't streaming or recording. So that's great. But in any case, I'll kind of catch you guys up with where I just was and what I just talked about a whole bunch. So I'm gonna be working on my nephew Matthew's game. It's called The Dids and the Vans, and here let me just get this back up to where it was. Okay, so if you guys have been following along, you're familiar with all this stuff. This is the sort of artwork style we're going to be doing, and I've just saved out the king and the princess and the did in a few different color variations. And here we've got the three different button icons you'll be able to click to summon your guys. The gunsmith and the archer and the swordsman. And what I like to do is create these at a kind of a bigger resolution. So right now it's just 1024 by 1024, which isn't gigantic, but in the end I'm only going to be actually using maybe a 256 by 256, but it's easier if I work larger and then I can save out the smaller versions. Just makes life easier. And yeah, here is the king and the princess as I drew them out the other day. And those are all up on YouTube as well. You can watch the process of sketching and drawing those characters. And then here finally is the environment that we're going to be. It's very temporary, so bear with it. But it's just something to get a field down that we can have a castle that guys are spawning out of, and another castle to attack. And here we've just thrown the princess back there at the cave, at the mine. But eventually what this mine will be used for is gathering gems and gold and stuff that you can use to buy upgrades in the shop between games. And there's two little pools. I don't know what they're going to be for, if they're going to be used at all. But in any case, so I just saved out this image. Oh, right, and here, just to catch you guys up as well. So this is what the game sort of looks like. So there's two armies fighting each other over this princess. She's from some faraway land, and both kingdoms want to marry her. And so she is putting on a battle or a competition to see who will get her hand and therefore her lands and all of the great stuff that comes along with her when they win or when they battle. So that's kind of the story behind the Dids and the Vans. I tried to convince my nephew to do something like, oh, well, maybe one's technology and it's all amazing and advanced scientifically and it can heal and, they've got crazy stuff. And then the other one is, all focused on their mind and their bodies and it's all magic oriented and all this stuff. And he's like, no, I don't like that. It's like, okay, well, what do you want to do? And he's like, what if there's a princess that you have to rescue? And I'm like, okay, we could do that, but what if, well, who's the princess from and who's rescuing from who? You don't want to play as an evil side that just captured a princess and, everybody will always choose the good side. So what we ended up with is this story here, where there's a princess from a faraway land and she's putting on a competition to see who will marry her. They play a lot of Castle Crashers, my nephews, and, in Castle Crashers, there's always the rescue the princess moment at the end. And after you rescue the princess, then you two fight each other to see who actually gets to kiss the princess. So this is driving them right now. Anyway, so that's the idea there. So I just saved out this image and I saved out my king, and I got these buttons made. And just to catch you guys up, this is his sketch concept. And so we're gonna have the three buttons in the top right corner. It starts with 100 guys, and you can spawn all of them. But there'll be some sort of a timer that limits how fast you can spawn them. But essentially, they spawn here in the Did Castle, and they're going to walk across the field to the Van Castle and fight each other along the way and battle. And there's walls that you can build right here that will help protect the castle, and you can rebuild those walls, I think, as you go along, and you can reinforce them and strengthen them. And so it should be pretty fun. Right now, today, I just want to focus on getting a system where we can click these buttons, and the appropriate guy will spawn and start cruising across the screen. So, and they'll just spawn and walk up and diagonally to this location. And it's all 2D based artwork stuff, so you know, it's going to be using sprites and stuff like that. So let's minimize this and bring Unity back. And here we are again. So essentially caught up with about 40 minutes of talking in just a few minutes. So excellent. All right, so let's get started. So what I have here is a little character that I animated inside of Unity. So this is the did character. And I'm gonna show you guys really quickly. If I go over here to my assets, oh sorry, I'm working off screen here. All I have is all these different body parts. And what I basically did is just took the main character and cut him up. And actually I have a video of myself doing this process and cut him up and then just painted in little bits here and there. So like, you know, I cut his arm, but then painted in this little circle here of skin color. So that way when he animates and flexes his elbow, you can actually, you know, you see just more skin happening behind it. You don't see a gap or a hole where that happened. And same kind of thing here, you know, just took the knee and painted in a splotch so that as he moves his knee, you can still see stuff behind. Same thing with the neck. I mean, with all the joints, wherever they connect to the body, just painted in that thing. And then I use this thing called Smooth Moves, this tool called Smooth Moves, to actually animate the character. And I could show you that real fast. And it is a plugin available on the App Store, and it is amazing. I've been using it like crazy for all my games. I use it for all the free Ollie, completely built on Smooth Moves. And here, if I just scoot this guy up a little bit, oops. Right here, so you can see I have all the different parts of his body, head, upper left, and etc. And I can just scrub this timeline back and forth and animate him. So this is a little silly walk cycle. It's more like a shuffle from the Ministry of Silly Walks. And this is his little idle where he's just going to be standing there. I know it's a lot of movement for just standing there, but I'll probably tone that down at some point. In any case, it's working for now. It's a fun little guy. So right now his base default animation is the idle. So it'll just keep playing that on loop forever and ever and ever. I'm going to have to give it some sort of commands to actually make it switch to its walk cycle and then back to its idle. And we'll get to all that stuff too. Okay, so I just imported also the Toolkit 2D, which is another asset from the asset store. And you don't have to go and buy these things. I just find them really easy to work with. And so if I go to the asset store here, I mean, I buy stuff on here quite a bit actually, just because there's really nice little features and things that help your workflow. So this is Smooth Moves by Oko17, and I highly recommend it. And 2D Toolkit by Unicron Software, I also highly recommend that one. Although, and Next Gen UI, actually I'm going to need to get NGUI in here too, because NGUI is how I'm going to put the buttons up for the user interface. So let's download the latest version, and it's going to take a little while. So I'm just going to scoot this over here and get it out of the way while that downloads, and otherwise we can work on some other stuff. Okay, so let's start getting our environment in there. So what I can do is just literally take this image of my environment, which is just this thing right here, and I can just drag it right into, no I can't, I was just kidding. I cannot drag it right into there because I think it needs to be considered a sprite. Yeah, if I make it a sprite and then hit apply, then I can drag it right in there. And you know, that's something, that's a thing that people can do. But I don't really want to do that. Here, I don't need my tablet anymore. I'm gonna use my mouse because it's a lot easier. And I can just rotate this thing back 90 degrees. Let's make this a little smaller. And you know, and that'll work. But I do want to use this 2D Toolkit stuff. It's not going to matter so much for the background, but but I'm gonna use it anyway. So I'm gonna delete this. You can just actually hit delete. Oh, looks like our NGUI is imported or is done downloading. So I'm gonna import that. And I do import everything. I don't think you need the examples, but I don't remember which package I was using where if I didn't have the examples then it wasn't working. It might have been NGUI, might have been 2D Toolkit, might have been something else. I don't really know. So I'm just gonna import everything. It doesn't really matter. All right, and then to get it working with JavaScript, we need to actually create an NGUI folder inside of the plugins folder. Oops, not BGUI, NGUI. And if you don't have a plugins folder, you can just make one. And then we take all the stuff, I think, including editor. I don't remember, I think so. I think we just take everything from scripts and drag it right into the NGUI folder. And we should get some NGUI stuff happening. I'll try again. Because I'm working on Dropbox, sometimes I do get a few random errors. It looks like I might have done that wrong. So let's put that, I think editor goes back into scripts. You know what? Just to be safe and to be certain, let's actually look it up real fast. NGUI for JavaScript. You know, I've done this a million times, but I always forget which folder you leave behind. Something tells me it's editor. I don't know why, but for some reason always that NGUI takes a while to open. Okay, yeah, so we leave editor where it was in the scripts folder and move everything else into plugins and NGUI folder. And that's that. All right, so we can close that down and we're all set. Cool. It's a little complicated, but it's okay, it's worth it. All right, excellent. So now we've got our temp buttons in here. We've got our castle, or our environment rather, and we've got a temporary king. Perfect. So we will take the king and the castle, and let's create a 2D Toolkit asset for them. And so to do that, we go to create, and then Toolkit 2D down here, we can create a sprite collection. And a sprite collection, and I'm just gonna actually drag this up here, and I'm gonna make a new folder inside of art, create folder called temp, and I'm gonna take my sprite collection and drag it into temp, because it's all gonna be temporary stuff I'm making here. Okay. So let's rename this, call it temp, I guess just sprites. This is gonna be a pretty generic folder, or a generic group. We can go to open editor, and it's gonna bring up this little window. Cool. You can ignore that error. That's, well, maybe you can't. Uh-oh. All right, we'll figure that out in a minute. All right, so environment and characters, and drag these two things right into here. And you see it's all squished and weird, but as soon as I hit commit, it will stretch out to be the right size as soon as it creates too many textures in the collection for the requested atlas size. Oh, the reason why it says that is because my environment is way too big. And I don't know why I made this thing so massive. Here, let me go back in here, and let's make a duplicate of this. So history palette, and I'm just going to do create document off of copy, and let's do maybe 1440 on the size here, and resave this out as art and then environment. Switch to PNG, and let's replace that. Cool. Okay, close that. We don't need it anymore. And let's remove the castle So go here, actually delete. Yes. Right click on this and just re-import. Excellent. And drag our new smaller castle in there and hit commit. And now, try again. That again is because Dropbox is trying to synchronize. You know, it's really not a great idea to work this way because Dropbox really freaks out a lot about, Unity rather creates a lot of files over and over again and deletes those files. So Dropbox is always trying to synchronize those temporary files. It's kind of a pain. All right, cool. Well, anyway, we've got our atlas here, which it created for us. It rotated our thing, our background. So this is a 1024 by 2048, which ideally you want to do all square textures, especially if you're working for iOS, because this is a weird error. I've never seen this error before. Let me reopen this. Square textures, because in order to compress your textures, they need to be square. There's this power of two thing. There's this rule, and I was using what was it called? PT tools, something like that, to make all that stuff. All right, tons of errors here. Asset isn't assets, but asset timestamp. Okay, let's just clear all that. Let's ignore that stuff. As long as it's still working, I don't really care that there are problems right now. All right, so let's create a sprite. And actually, let's make sure that our guy here is 90 degrees. Yep, and make sure our camera is also 90 degrees, looking straight down on the scene. And for our camera, I'm just doing an orthographic camera. So I changed from perspective to orthographic right here, and I'm changing my size, and that's gonna reveal or hide, or rather make bigger or smaller. That's an easy way to say it. What we actually see on the field. So I'm gonna go to Game Object, 2D, Toolkit 2D, Sprites. And here I can choose my collection. So I'm gonna choose that Temp Sprites collection and choose our castle environment. Rotate it down 90 degrees. And this is really small. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna scale it up. Oops. I'm gonna actually scale it with Toolkit 2D scale. So you can scale it with these, but I found that it's a little better if you scale it with within the Toolkit 2D sprite, because that way if I ever want to adjust the scale separately for whatever reason, I have this transform here. But this is something I'm probably not going to be changing that much. So let's do, whoa, 10's way too big. Let's do 5. Sure, let's try 5 and 5. All right, and take our camera and just make sure that that's, actually 20 seemed pretty good. Fantastic. Okie dokie. So we'll name this background. And you see that now my character is gone. Well, he's still there. And even if I scoot him up, yeah, he starts to pop up over top. So instead of scooting him up, I'm actually going to take my background and scoot it back a little bit. I'm going to go down to -1. So when you're working within Toolkit 2D, it's not going to regard the height as much as it will the depth. And so if I click on this, you see my order and layer here is set to 0. I'm actually going to want to set this like -10, because I want this to always be on the very bottom. I want anything that I put on top to live on top. So we got that guy, and let's create a new sprite. So 2D, Toolkit 2D sprite. It's going to be called King. Cool, and there he is. There's our king. We'll rotate it down 90. And let's just drag him so he's standing over there. We'll give him a little more size as well. He should be, that's really big. He should be maybe 1.5. Okay, great. And let's just get him right into place. And we'll make his depth level, I don't know, -5. Eventually, what we're going to have to do, all these trees are going to be separate objects that I'm going to be populating inside of the scene as opposed to painting in. So that way, as my characters walk up, for example, this way, they will appear in front of the tree, and then as soon as they pass the halfway point of that tree, or whatever point I'm going to eventually have to decide on, then they'll swap depths with that tree so that the tree then appears above them. And that's all going to be based on a script based on their height, like where they are in the Y space. But we'll get to that as well. In the meantime, it's always in the meantime, this guy is still too big. He's going to need to be a lot smaller. So let's do 0.5. Well, actually, he needs to be that much smaller. Seems about right, scale-wise. I know he's really hard to see now. He's just this tiny little nothing. But you'll have the ability to zoom in on the game, and he'll have a shadow and all that fun stuff too. And he'll be moving, and the backgrounds will be in such a way that he's more readable. And I might have to thicken him up a little bit, give him some beefier arms. But wow, he's really small. That's okay though. All right. So let's put him inside of a group. So we'll make a empty game object. And the reason we put him inside of an empty game object, we'll call him char_did, is because empty game objects are really easy to move around the screen, and I can put all sorts of colliders and things on this. And then if I ever want to swap out what he is, or his artwork, or his whatever, that's really easy for me to do. Because I just change this folder in here, and then I've got a whole new character. So there's our char_did. Let's add some components to this guy. We'll do a physics 2D, and we'll do a box collider around him. And right now it's just super tiny. So, oops, 10, 5, maybe, let's do 3. Oh, and that box collider needs to be rotated. Whoopsie. STL failed verification. Yep, that'll happen. So the box collider. Okay, so this is a new thing that I have not ran into yet because I've always done my 2D games vertically, and we might have a problem because I think box collider 2D likes to be vertical. Okay, so there's a crossroads. I can either change the game to be horizontal, or I can just use 3D colliders. I think I want to use 3D colliders instead. Because I want to have some random ability to be able to throw objects up into the sky and then use the built-in gravity to sort of have them bounce around on the playing field. Not really sure if that's a good idea or not, but it could work, so I'm gonna do it. Okay, so let's get rid of this box collider 2D, remove component, and let's instead go to physics and just do box collider. And now you can see it's got a 3D collider on it. And let's just adjust the size on this little guy so that he fits our character. So again, it's gonna be 3 and 3 here. And yeah, it looks pretty good. We don't really have to get his hat in there, but we will indeed get it over there so that it includes his both his hands. You know what? Let's make this a tiny bit smaller. Let's do 2.5. Cool. Looking good. All right, and then let's do, what else are we gonna want on here? I don't know yet. So let's just leave it with the box collider. Let's tag our guy. So we'll add a tag here. And tags are really useful for finding your objects in the game. So we'll do, we'll just do care. Yeah, no, let's do care. That sounds good. All right, so let's switch over to care for character, that is. And for layer, we'll leave that blank for now. Our king is gonna get a similar treatment. So right now he's just the sprite, and let's zero out his position. Go here to component, game object, create empty. And let's zero this out as well. And here we're gonna add a tag for him, and it's gonna be called king. Game object is gonna be called care king. And he's gonna have king tag, and I'm just gonna drag the king right into the king. And here we're gonna create a physics box collider. Let's just take a look in here, and I think we're gonna wanna go for 3 again, and maybe a 6 on the Z. Cool, and let's scoot this over a little bit so it's sort of centered on him a little better. All right, and now I'll just take this whole character group and scoot him over here. This way I can swap out, you know, just the single image of the king for the animated version of the king later, and I'm gonna put all my scripts on this top group, so swapping that will be very quick and easy. All right, so we got those two guys in there, getting somewhere. Now I'm just gonna make prefabs out of these two. So if I twirl that art down, we need to make a new folder to hold all of our prefabricated game objects. Prefab. Actually, I like to have it S prefabs. And inside of there, we'll create a folder called temp. This will hold all of our temporary prefabs like these guys. So there's our temp did and our temp king. And you can see all I need to do is drag anything from up here down into into a folder, and it will create a prefab out of it. And you see that the text changed to be blue, which means that this is now a prefab. Prefab is basically just a reusable group. So now I can just drag a bunch of these dids in and move them all over the place. And you see that right now there is nothing happening, but as soon as I hit play, there they go. They pop up and they all animate, and now they should stay. Nope, just kidding. So they're, we're gonna instantiate these guys, or we're gonna create them while the game is playing. So we don't have to worry about, them not showing up here while the game's playing. As soon as we hit play, they'll all pop on and they'll do their little animations, and it should be fine. Cool. So let's delete all these guys because we don't need them. All right, so first things first, we're gonna need those buttons. We're gonna need those UI buttons over here. So let's create those first. So go over here to NGUI. Actually, I'll go here to Art and twirl down all those and open up our UI folder. And here's our 3 buttons. So we'll go here to NGUI and, game object, assets first, NGUI, and create Atlas Maker. And what we have here is anything we select over here will show up here as an either add or update. And we don't have any Atlas selected right now because we don't have one yet. And so we've got our 3 objects, and they're all going to be addable or added right now. And so if I hit create, it's going to ask me where I want to put that new Atlas, and we're going to put it inside of UI in the art folder. And this Atlas is going to be called temp UI. And we'll save this out. Excellent. So now we have this temporary atlas made that has our 3 characters loaded into it, or our 3 buttons loaded into it rather. Cool. Next, we need to create a 2D UI environment. So we'll go to NGUI and create. We'll just do a sprite. And what that's going to do is create a UI root, a camera, a second camera, and one of our first sprite, which actually is our image right there, which is perfect. So there's a few things we want to change. Scaling style from flexible to constrained. And that makes sure that no matter what device we go onto, whatever the resolution is, this UI is going to remain at a consistent size. So it's not going to get smaller if we're on a larger resolution or bigger if we're on a lower resolution, which is very, very useful. So this will be and actually, is there anything else we want to change? I don't think so. That was the big one. Okay, yeah, that should do it. Okay, so the sprite, we'll call this button archer. Oh, there's another thing. So you see what actually happened is it created a UI that is very small and pointing in the across direction. Now it doesn't really matter because all this stuff is going to be projected from a different camera and overlaid on top of our game anyway. So I can actually move this whole group out of the way, which I'm going to do right now. Just get it off of the middle of our playfield. Oops, I meant the UI root. So get this whole thing out of the way. And I'm also going to make it a lot larger. So we'll change our size just so it's a little easier to work with. To maybe like 10 perhaps. Let's just scoot this, get it right out of our view area. And then we can make our buttons nice and big. So they are 256, which is correct. You know what? Instead of doing that, let's make this size a little smaller. Let's do like a 2. Yeah. And then take our button archer. And you'll see, even though I'm looking at nothing right here, this is actually what we're seeing inside of this sort of red pink box here. I just scoot this up and out of the way, like right there. That kind of matches what our screen is looking at. So we've got a button archer. We need now a button for our swordsman. Very nice. Let's scoot this guy up a little bit and switch the sprite from temp button archer. Hit the sprites button and then we get this cool little window. We want actually the swordsman. There he is. And last but not least, we'll do gunsmith and switch our sprites to the gunsmith. And scoot this up again. All right, so clearly we've run out of space here. So that'll do. We'll probably end up making these buttons a little smaller, but that's okay. For now, that should work out just fine. Okay, cool. All right, and those are working, or those are there at least. So right now they don't have any colliders on them or any functionality to make them work. So let's add some stuff. We go to add component. Actually, I think it's up here. I think they changed it. Attach button script. So now we've got the button script, but we just need a collider. So we'll do a physics collider, box collider, which is super duper tiny right there. And we are gonna make that way bigger. Let's do 100. Nope, let's do, 256. Naturally. And we'll make the depth like a 10, just so it's not like a perfectly flat thing. Excuse me. Definitely gonna need some coffee. That's better. It's like life energy. All right, and then we'll copy this component, and we'll go to Swordsmith here, or Swordsman, and NGUI attach button script, and right-click. If you right-click anywhere where there isn't an actual component, it won't do anything. But if you right-click on the component name, then you can get this paste copy. Paste component is new, so we'll paste that box collider, and now you can see it popped up over our other button. And finally, Gunsmith, we'll get the same treatment component. NGUI attach button script, right click, paste component is new. Cool. So now we might see, yeah, we got our button overlays working because these are considered buttons now, according to NGUI. And NGUI is constantly checking like where your mouse is and is it over an object or not. And if it overlaps with one of our buttons, then it's just going to do this animation. So the transition is over 0.2 seconds. It transitions from white to this sort of hovered color, and then back as soon as your mouse goes away. So that's just a really simple, basic functionality. I'm actually going to make this 0.002 seconds. It's not really going to matter because I'm not. This is eventually going to be for mobile anyway, and there is no rollover states on mobile. And eventually we'll probably have separate artwork for the over and pressed functions for when we do work or play on a PC or Mac. But whatever, for now, this should work. So I prefer a faster overlay than that sort of 0.2 seconds. But it doesn't really matter, again. For now, it really doesn't matter. Great, so now that's all working. So what we need to do is actually tell something to do something. So this is what this notify here is for. And, okay, cat, you should just keep going. Just keep moving right off the desk is ideal. Okay, or just sit right there, whatever. Just don't. Oh, you want to do it? He really wants to do it right now. He's gonna interrupt what I'm doing. This is what he does. That's what he does, he's a cat. Okay. So let's actually go down here. Let's see. And GUI, is there any other component that I want to add? Interaction. So this button message thing is new, or rather old. Okay, no, don't. You can't do that. I love you, but you must go away. You must go away. It's true. I'm sorry. This is gonna start purring into the mic. You guys won't be able to hear what I'm saying. Okay. Oh yeah, you can lick yourself down there. It's fine. All right. So where were we? Right. So adding some stuff. So what I used to always do is have this based on this button message. But now it's a legacy thing, and I know I got around this, but I don't really remember how. So we're going to learn it together, if that's okay with you guys. Okay, so let's create some scripts. Let's create first a 3D create empty game object. This is going to be our game manager. Game manager, and we're gonna tag it as game manager. Oh wait, actually I like game master. That's what I usually use. So call this master. I don't know why, it just seems cool. Game master. and scoot this up to the top. It doesn't really matter where it is inside of this hierarchy. I just like to have it at the top. Also, I like this UI root to be right above my main camera. Again, doesn't matter. Directional light, it's not really doing anything for our scene because everything is everything's lit in some other way. So, our game manager, we're going to need a folder called scripts, and we're going to start making some scripts. So create new, oops, not C#. I don't know how to work with C#. So let's just delete that. Create scripts, JavaScript, and we'll call this script. I always name all my scripts with script. I don't know why, just easier for me to remember. We'll call it script game master. Oops. There we go. Crypt. It's just a crypt, not a script. Okay. Not game masters. Ay, typing. It's a new keyboard, and it's awkward. I'm still getting the hang of it. I hope I like it after a while, but right now it's awkward. Game master, we'll just drag that right on there, and this is an empty script not doing anything yet. So let's double click it and open up our handy dandy editor here. And that actually was about right. Okay. Maybe I can make this smaller so we can do both. Yeah, now we're talking. Because that would be, yeah, we're going to be doing a lot of scripting here next. So this first script is going to be, I'm just going to comment out and just call it game master for the dids and the vans. Cool. So the basic typical stuff I'm going to need is array cast and array. Oops. Whoa. There. Hit. Array cast hit. Okay, and then I want to get my mouse position, which will be a vector 3. And let's start writing this out and see what else we'll need. So here we'll do if input dot get mouse button down zero, mouse pos equals input dot mouse position. So that all I'm saying is if I'm pressing down on the mouse, on the left click on the mouse button, then our variable mouse pos is going to be getting the x and y coordinate of the mouse position on screen. And then we're going to do, oops, not like that. We want to actually get the camera.main.screen to world point. That's the thing. And then input.mouse position. Okay, so what this is actually doing is input.mouse position would have been some random position in 3D space. Well, not random, but just not the position I was looking for. And what I'm doing here is I'm saying, okay, from our main camera's position, our camera, the main one, I'm going to take this function called screen to world point, which takes where my mouse cursor is on the screen and shoots a ray out directly into the scene, straight back, and whatever it collides with, or rather, it's just going to shoot that ray out, and that ray is going to give us a world position point. So say, for example, this bottom left corner is 0, 0, and the top right corner is 1, 1, then if I'm right here in the dead center, it's going to be 0.5, 0.5. And that's going to be translated into real world coordinates. So whatever this is, which I think is like pretty much 0, 0, 0 in the axis. So that's a little weird, but it's gonna make sense as we go. So we'll do ray equals mouse pos. Actually, it's gonna be camera.main dot screen point to ray, and this is gonna be of our input dot mouse position. Oops. Cool. And then we'll do this. Actually, not ray, I mean hit. No. Yeah, ray, that's right. If input dot, physics dot raycast, and we want to check for our ray and see if we hit anything with a depth of 1,000. And we'll just do a debug.log hit something. We'll do hit king. And what I'm going to actually check for is if it hit the king. So if hit.transform.tag equals king, then debug.log hits the king. So what I'm doing here is just saying, okay, if we're clicking the mouse button, track the mouse position into this ray. This ray is going to be directly shot out from my mouse position straight into the scene. And it's going to be looking, so now I'm going to do a physics raycast, which shoots a ray of the position of my mouse, and it's going to call back anything that it hits. So if the hit actually is hitting the king tag, then we're just going to have a debug message pop up that just says we hit the king. It's a little complicated, but it'll make sense as we take a look at the scene. Just make sure we don't have any errors, and we don't. And now if I click with my mouse, nothing's happening until I click the king. And you can see now we're getting this hit king. So otherwise, nothing, hit king. Nothing, hit king. So we'll do the same thing for the background here. We'll make a tag for it. And add tag, we'll just call this background. Let's actually scoot this a little bit, get a little tiny. Background, we'll tag it as background. And now I can easily just change this to background. Hit BG. Resave this. And now pretty much anywhere I click, it's gonna do nothing. Background. I misspell these all the time. Oh, I don't have any colliders on the background. Well, that makes more sense. Probably wouldn't be adding colliders to the background. So instead, well, we'll leave that there because we're gonna need that eventually. So here's what we're gonna do. We wanna check for UI stuff, UI clicks. So there's a few ways of doing this. We already have it set up on this camera here, and it's already using NGUI, and NGUI is really good about sending data back and forth. So I'm going to create some functions that will react to when we click on one of those buttons. So we'll do function UI button gunsmith. And this is going to be whenever you click the UI button for the gunsmith, spawn a gunsmith guy. So right for now, we'll just do a debug.log spawn gunsmith. Okay, so this is gonna be really simple. And do another function for UI button swordsman. Spawn for the dude. We'll just call it dude. Instead of having to retype this comment every time, because it doesn't matter. And this is finally going to be the archer. Cool. We'll save this, and we'll actually change this back to king, and change this back to king as well. So just have some function whenever we hit the king. So we'll save this, and we'll go back to our UI root, back to our button here. Give ourselves a bit more room because things are getting a little bit squishy. On notify, what do we want to notify? We want to notify the game master. And what on the game master do we want to notify? Well, we want to notify the script, and then we want to notify the UI button, and this is our archer, so UI button archer. And you can see what that is just our UI button archer script right here, or function right here. So it's going to notify the game master that to run this function. That's how easy it is. That's the beauty of sending messages and notifications, and that's why I like using NGUI so much. So the same thing, notify the game master, and what on the game master we're going to notify? We're going to notify the swordsman. And finally, game master, notify the archer. This is our archer. No, that's our gunsmith. Whoops. That's our gunsmith. Boing. And our archer, that was set to archer. Perfect. So now what we should see is whenever I click on any of these buttons on the right here, spawn gunsmith, spawn swordsman, and spawn archer. Okay, so that's working, and we still have our hit king whenever we hit our king. Sweet. So I'm going to save this real fast just because we're making progress. So we'll do save scene. I think I had already saved. Here, I had a scene name for it. Yeah, it's just testing L1. All right, cool. Okay, so let's now make these guys instantiate. Actually, first let's give him some instructions. So we'll go here to create JavaScript script. We'll call it movement. I'll just call it movement. All right, and we'll drag this right on top of our character did. So script movement goes right there. You always got to wait a second after you make this script because it has to compile it and notify everything else that a script has been made. But then it works. So we'll double click this and get to our script movement over here. And we'll just say this is our script, script to move character on screen. So we'll do a move speed, which will be a float, and we'll call it 5 for now. I always kind of start with 5. And I choose floats because they can support a lot of numbers in between. So if I, have something that slows them down, I can slow it down by 0.5 instead of 1 or 2 or 3. It basically just allows you to use decimal points instead of just whole numbers. Okay, and then we'll do. We'll eventually want one for direction. I'll make it a Boolean, I think, for now. So it'll be a simple like, is he moving to the right or to the left? And that'll be basically how we determine if it's a van or. We'll probably get rid of that eventually because it's just a temporary thing for now, so that we can make them meet in the middle and fight each other and stuff. All right, so I learned how to do scripting just a few years ago from the Walker Boys Studios, which is free scripting lessons and stuff. They're amazing, and they're all about game development, and I highly recommend it if anybody's like really wanting to get into this stuff, because it's just so powerful, and it's kind of cold here. So hold on one second. Okay, that's better. Brr. Okay. So what we're gonna do is just say transform dot position equals vector 3 dot move towards, and we're gonna do transform dot position, and we're gonna do we're just gonna do target dot position over speed, oh no, move speed times time dot delta time. So what did I just write? All right, so we're gonna need a target as well, which will be a transform. And what we're gonna do is find our target right in the beginning. So we'll do a target equals game object dot find with tag enemy castle dot transform, something like that. Okay, so first off, we're going to grab a target, and it's going to be the enemy castle, anything that has enemy castle tag, which will make something right now. So we'll go up here to create objects, create an empty one, and 0, 0, 0. And here we're going to type in a new tag called enemy castle. And let's go to our game object and just tag this enemy castle, and we'll call it enemy castle. We're going to add a little bit of a box collider, and just sort of scoot this thing up and over here, and we'll kind of get it within a relatively accurate size. Does not have to be perfect at all, just something that's about the right size. All right, cool. That's our enemy castle. It's got a transform, it's got a position, and it has a area that we're all walking to now. Okay, so that's our enemy castle. So now what'll happen is as soon as the game starts, this whatever the script is attached to is going to look for the enemy castle, find it, load it into the transform here, and then what we're going to do is on update, we'll do if target. So what that means is if there is a target, so if this is filled with something, if target is true or is not empty or is not null, then it's going to start moving towards that target at a speed of 5 times time.delta time. And all time.delta time is it's a modifier that fixes that the time or that the speed won't be faster based on your computer speed. So if you have a really fast computer and you don't have that time.delta time in there, it'll be churning through those frames per second really, really quickly, and you'll be running at like a lightning breakneck speed. And time.delta time sort of restricts it so that it's based on the game time, the game running time, than the speed of your computer. So it's kind of a helpful way of forcing everything to always be consistent. Okay, well that was a really easy little script that we just wrote. So let's just save this. And I'm not even using this direction function yet, or the direction variable yet. And let's just put this on top of our character. Oh, it's already there. So we should see, yep, there's our move speed, which is set to 5, our direction, which is still false, and no target. But if I just take this guy and scoot him over here, so pretend like he was spawned at the castle, and I hit play, he should start walking. Yep, he's walking straight towards our castle. And as soon as he gets there, he's just gonna stop. Perfect. So I think he's moving a little bit too fast. So let's actually bump that down to 3. And I'll bump it down to 3 in here too. But because this is just a variable, it's not really going to respect that. Actually, I think there is a way to get it. Revert value to prefab. Yeah, that works. All right, and because you see how this is all bold, that means that these values haven't been saved yet into our prefab. So if we look here at our prefab of our character did, it doesn't have that script attached to it. So if we spawned a bunch of character dids right now, they are not going to have that script and they're not going to know to walk to the castle. What we can do to make sure that that all gets updated is click on our character did up here in our game hierarchy and just hit apply. And now you see everything went back to regular non-bolded versions. That means that it's part of the prefab now. So now anyone we spawn is going to have that same movement speed and that walking to the enemy thing. Okay, so now they're walking to the right place. Let's make a really quick script that will just instantiate them. So back in Game Master, now this is probably not where I would put this, but we're going to put it here for now until we start building this out a little bit more. So let's just say, please, cat, get out of the way. You're just standing right in the middle of the screen. Yeah, that's good. Just away, somewhere else. You're not really listening. Just you just stepped all over the keyboard. What did you just do? What did you bring up? How did you get that? Okay, this cat is really fiending for attention right now. Deal with it, buddy. I'm recording. Shh, stop. Okay. Let me just, I need to put my arm there. Okay. Okay, cool. Back to normal. Sorry, everybody. Okay, so swordsman. Let's put this all into the swordsman stuff. So here's what we're gonna do. Pretty simple. I'm gonna do this in the simplest way that I can think of, and then we'll build upon it as we go. Instantiate, and this will be swordsman transform.position, transform.rotation. Actually, we'll just do quaternion identity. What the heck is quaternion identity, you ask? It just means whatever my rotation is on my prefab. So if I did transform.rotation and transform.position, transform.position is going to place it. Oh, you know what? I got to change that because that shouldn't be either. So usually what I would do is like transform.position, transform.rotation, and I'd usually have some sort of like a little empty game object somewhere around the scene, and I would be spawning them from that game object's position. And because the rotations are always like zeroed out for me, it'd be fine to do it that way too. But because this game object, which is our game master, is sort of centered in the center of the screen, and it doesn't really matter where it lives, I just don't want to be spawning stuff from the center of the screen. I want to be spawning it from a specific location of my choosing. So what I'm going to do is create, oops, it does not break my script. I'm going to create 2 new variables, and this is going to be placement of spawner. Actually, well, this spawner placements, and we'll do var spawn placement vector 3. Actually, we'll do transform. Yep, because I'm going to be actually throwing something in there, and yeah, that should do the trick. So we'll save this, and before, oh, I also need the swordsman spawner. We'll just call this spawner stuff. So our spawn placement is going to be the first one, and then we'll do var spawn swordsman, var spawn gunsmith, transform var spawn archer. Cool. So spawn placement, which is where everything will be spawning from, and then our 3 characters that we're going to be spawning. So we don't have those 3 characters yet. I'm just going to make them all the same guy. So spawn swordsman. Is that right? Spawn swordsman. Yep. Cool. And our location is going to be spawn placement dot position and quaternion identity. So whatever the rotation is of the prefab of our spawn swordsman. All right, cool. Pretty straightforward. Hello. Thank you. All right, click back over here. Make sure we don't have any errors in our scripts. And it doesn't seem like we do, so that's groovy. The game master is going to become a temp or a prefab, so that I can actually load in these prefab objects. So we'll do one more object here, a 3D object, an empty one rather, excuse me. This is going to be spawn placement. And we'll zero this out. I don't need a tag or anything really. I'm just going to scoot this right over here. So it comes out of the door of our castle. And this is going to be the location that our guys are spawning from. And the way I'm going to specify that is go here and click on my game master. I'm just going to drag this spawn placement into my spawn placement slot here. Excuse me. And then we got spawn swordsman, gunsmith, and archer. And what I'm going to do is always spawn the same guys in there. So we'll do char did in all 3 of those spots. All right, and now I'm sure this first guy is cruising right over there, walking over to the enemy territory. And if I click on this, it's just gonna click the spawn archer and spawn gunsmith. But if I click on the spawn swordsman, it should now instantiate a new one of those character dids and have him walk over there. So let's try it. And there we go. Spawned at the door, and he's walking over. So I can spawn a bunch of these dudes. And there they go. They're cruising. I don't know if you guys can see that. Here, let me actually do a maximize on play. Perfect. This is probably a little easier to see. So you can see that as I click on the spawn swordsman, it's just creating more swordsmen, and I can click it as many times as I want, as fast as I can. And there go a bunch of new dudes, and they just all walk right on over to the enemy castle. So again, there's going to be 100 guys you can spawn, and I have to have some sort of thing that limits how fast they can spawn, and some kind of a money system, I'm imagining. And they're all stacking up over there, and they're just going to stay there forever and ever and ever. So let's add something that makes them die whenever they get too close. It doesn't really make sense, because what we're going to want to have them do is shoot the castle. But for now, we'll just build in this little architecture, or this little function. Script movement. Okay. Yeah, we could put it in here. Function die. Okay, and this is just going to be destroy game object. So here's what we're going to do. So if there's a target, we definitely still want to use that. All this is going to do is move us. No, not user state. Move us towards the target. And down here a little bit further, I'm going to do one that says if we're close to target, destroy. So we'll do a distance check, and we'll take our current position. So dist check equals transform that position. Actually, we want to subtract our target position. Target that position minus transform that position. And so we're going to need some new variables up here. So we'll do var dist check, which is going to be a vector3 because it needs to store the xy position, xyz, and the xyz of these two objects. So distance check, and we'll do actually distance between, we'll do like this, distance between dist between, oh, whoa. What happened there? Var dist between, and this is going to be a vector3, and dist check is actually going to be a float. Okay. Okay, so dist check. What is going on? I am pressing some weird button. Or something, I don't know, weird. Equals dist between dot sqr magnitude. So vector3s all have the ability to check this square magnitude just from their variable itself, or from whatever you've stored into it. So square magnitude is basically a square rooted version of double the distance. So if these two objects are 5 units apart from each other, like 4 up and then like 6 across, it will measure that distance, and then it square roots it because I guess that's way faster or something. I'm not 100% sure. I knew at one point, but I can't explain it. But just know that square magnitude will give you a distance between these two objects. So we're going to do a check. So if dist check is less than, let's say 1, I'm not sure what it's going to be yet, and we'll check those numbers. Then debug, we'll do a little check right here, debug.log, close enough. All right. So eventually I'm going to put in the die function right here. So let's go back here and check if we hit this and watch our guy go. Eventually we should look down here and we should see, it's right down here in the bottom left corner, we should see this say close enough once it's close enough. And there it is. So right when he got just into the range of the thing. Perfect. So that was working. We'll make the distance check a little bit larger, so we'll do 3 instead, and close enough. Now I part. Let's make it poetic while we're doing it. And we're just going to run the die function, and that will just kill off our guy. So again, just one last time, if I maximize and hit play over here, I'll spawn a couple of these guys. And now when they get to about right here, like the edge of the castle, or maybe somewhere in the castle, they're just gonna die. And blink. Okay, it's right about there. And so that clears them out of our memory, and they're no longer an issue, and our game should continue to run smoothly. Now, when I say that clears it out of their memory, Technically, that's exactly what's happening. So every time I hit instantiate, it is having to create and add a new character to memory, and then have them run across the screen. And then whenever I hit destroy, it's actually removing that character completely from memory. And what ends up happening, and you know, the problem is I made all of FreeOlly this way. It all instantiates and destroys. And it worked great on my computer. It was beautiful, flawless. I had no issues. And then as soon as I started deving it on my iPhone, incredible, massive slowdowns whenever new enemies would enter the screen, or I instantiate new guys. It was just like that act of adding its memory chugs the system like crazy on a mobile device, on a phone or a tablet. So there's these things that you can do. It's called pooling. And I learned all about this, and now, I mean, it's a standard. I have to use it on every game because if I'm planning to release it for anything, you're going to want that amazing functionality. Basically what it's doing is, you know, in the beginning of any game that you play, there's that loading bar. Well, what that's actually there for is it's loading everything that it would possibly need for that game into memory. Now, of course, you know, there's a lot of optimization going on there. It's like, well, we're not going to load that area yet because we don't need to. You know, the user's not going to see it. It's just going to take a long time to load. But for the most part, what they do is if you have potentially 50 enemies on screen at any given time, but no more than 50 ever, it's impossible, then they'll create a pool that builds 50 enemies, instantiates 50 enemies, and then just turns them all off. So they're still loaded into memory, but they're just not, their scripts aren't running, their functions aren't happening, everything's just sitting there. And then whenever you need to access that enemy, like, oh, well, you know, we've entered a new room and there's 3 enemies in this room, it just flips on those enemies, and then they're there and they're already ready to go. They're already loaded in memory, so there's no performance hit at all. And that's kind of how games are made. So this method right here is not going to work for us with this instantiate. We will switch that to pools, but not quite yet, just because it's a bit of a thing that I kind of forgot exactly the order of things. You know what? Screw it. Let's do it because it's going to be useful, I think, for everybody to see that process. I'm just going to need a little bit of assistance. So I'm going to open up one of my old FreeOlly projects and look at how I have built it there. So I think this will be helpful for everybody to see this. So FreeOlly, Octogame. You know, it's on my laptop. Let me real fast here just transfer that stuff over, or you know what, I can even open it real quick here. Recent. Nope. Sorry guys, just bear with me for a minute here. I just want to make sure that I'm teaching everybody the right way to do things and the best way to do things. And I know, I mean, when I read about how to build these things, I was really confused initially, and it was kind of annoying to get it working and to get it doing what I needed it to do. So let's see here, obstacle master. I might have it. Interval, obstacles. Well, I know the fish one does it really well. Cool, that's the one. All right, excellent. Okay. Sorry everyone, I know you can't see what I got over here, but here it is. It's working. I'm gonna take what I need out of it, and we're gonna remake it right now real fast. Okay, so let's put that over there. Okay. So we'll go up here and we'll make a new sort of section here, and this will be called pools. So what we'll need first is a, we'll just call it chars, and it's going to be a, how about chars pool, and it's going to be a list dot caret game object. And for this stuff, we actually need to include some libraries. So at the very top here, right, don't we? This dot generic or something? Maybe we don't. That's weird. I really thought we needed that weird stuff at the top. Okay. Oh, you know, I think it's because it was being included in a different one, or imported in a different one. So script, oops. What did I call it? It's been so long since I made this thing, I forgot. Pickup master. Enemy master, that's what I called it. Enemy master pool. There we go. Boom. Import. All right, excellent. So as long as this is somewhere in one of your scripts, then it should work. Import system.collections.generic. So what that is just a series of functions that include this this list. So a list isn't really like a default thing that you can do inside of Unity until you add that include import system.collections.generic. So lists are like arrays. They're just containers that hold a bunch of stuff. However, they are way more flexible. They can be added, changed, resized really easily. So that's what everybody's using these days. Actually, that's what everybody always was using, but that's what they're using now too. So we'll do chars count, and this is going to be an integer. Chars total, and we'll just say it's 100. Oops. Int. So there's going to be, so it's going to spawn in 100 guys, which seems a little high. Let's make it 50 for now. Well, I mean, it's not high at all, but it's just because we're just working, testing, playing. We don't need all 100 guys on screen at any given time. 50 would be more than enough. What else do we want? We want a current. Chars current. So we can track what number we're on. And an increment. I don't know if we need that. All right. Okay, excellent. Let's do it. There chars increment also equals 0. Okay, so I'll just create the pool right here because, oh, whoops. Oh, my cat turned on the touch functionality on my tablet. That's why everything was wacky weird. Function char pool. This is being our characters pool. So we got chars pool equals new list dot game object. So it's just a list of game objects. Yep, looks good. And we're gonna do a for loop. So we'll just do var I, which is an integer, equals 0. And as long as I is less than our chars total, which is 50, then I plus plus increment up. So here's what we're going to do. What we need is, now we do our instantiation. So var new char equals, which is a game object, instantiate. We've got our, what do you call them? Spawn swordsman. And it's going to be at the, what do we do here? Spawn placement, dot position, and quaternion identity. Cool. So just like we did down here when we're spawning our guy, we're just spawning it again up here though in this pool, and it's going to spawn 50 of them. So that's all we're doing right here, and we're putting it into a variable called new character that we're creating inside of this for loop. So we'll never actually see this in the outliner or the inspector or anything like that. It'll only exist inside of this for loop, and that's fine though, because all we need is some kind of a tag so that we can access this instantiated character that we've just made. So that's why I have this new character here. And why we're doing that will make sense in just a second. So now that we've got our, we've spawned in a new swordsman and his name is new character. Now we can mess with some things about him. So we'll do new char and transform. Oops, dot parent equals transform. So what we're doing there is saying, okay, take this new character, this new swordsman, and instead of just putting him in the outliner, like at the top level, parent him underneath our current transform, which is our game master transform. So underneath the game master empty group or game object, we're gonna have all of our little characters. So we can twirl them open and close just like this. And it's just going to keep the organizer looking clean, or the outliner, sorry, looking clean. The hierarchy, excuse me, hierarchy looking clean and organized and everything. It's going to get be a lot easier to manage. So we also want to name him something. So the new char's name is going to equal new char plus I. Oops, plus I. Oops, sorry. Yeah, let's just do that. So his name is going to be, well, you know, he's going to be a swordsman, so he's going to be called Swordsman Joe. I don't know why Joe. Whatever. Swordsman plus I. So if our increment is on 0, we're going to spawn a new character. He's going to be parented into our game object, and then he's going to be called Swordsman 0. Swordsman 1, Swordsman 2, Swordsman 3, Swordsman, etc. Cool. And next we want to new char dot set active false. So like I said, you know, we spawn him in and then we just turn him off. So he's still in memory. We're not going to have that memory hit when he spawns, but he's just going to be set to off, so he's not going to show up. Okay, and all right, so now we just do chars pool dot add new char, and chars count equals chars pool dot count. And what we're doing here is just saying, okay, this list of game objects, however many objects it has in it, we're going to throw that into this variable called count. And this is going to be a way of checking to see if we've gone all the way up to our maximum of 50 guys, and to then start loading in from the 0s and 1s again. This we won't use for the pool building part, but we'll use it for the instantiating part. And that'll make sense as we go. Okay, so basically right now we've got a functioning pool generator. So this will generate our 50 guys. And actually, let's just save it real fast and I can show you guys how that works. So if I turn off this maximize on play, oops. Oh, 59. Oh, got it. Okay, so I am spawning in transforms, which is fine. So this just needs to be a transform. No, it needs to be a game object. Actually, it can be a transform if I make this list of transforms instead of game objects, transform. And same here. Now the only thing I got to be careful about is it already is a transform. New char dot game object dot set active, new char dot game object dot name, new char dot parent, add the new char. Okay, so I think that should work. Great. Okay, so now what we'll see here, if we open up this game object, or if we just keep an eye on that, as soon as I hit go, it did nothing. As soon as I hit go, it should do nothing. Oh, well, of course, because I'm not calling this character pool anywhere. So what we want to do is in start, we just do char pool. And that way it calls the function right when we start the script, and it starts throwing objects or characters in there. Okay, so again, keep an eye on this char master or game master here. If I hit play, boom. So what has happened is now we have 50 swordsmen all loaded in, and they're just sitting there off. But we don't have to worry about loading those guys anytime we get into memory now. So it shows the count is set to 50, the total is set to 50, and our current and increment, those will change as we start loading in guys. And you can see now our char pool list is populated with 50 new guys. So okay, well that's cool, but big deal. What are we gonna do with that? So now down here, instead of this instantiate whenever we click that button, we're gonna switch this to just grab the next guy in line, the next guy in our pool, and turn him on. And then once he turns on, he's gonna start walking over to the enemy base. Pretty straightforward. So let's do a, if we hit that button, what are we gonna do? We're gonna say spawn new guy. And let me just check how I was doing this. So what we do first is char inc plus plus. So that means our incrementer of our characters. So this is set to 0 right now. So we're just gonna put it up to 1, or just move it up one number, plus 1. Plus plus means plus 1. Whatever it was, add 1 to it, basically. So then we're going to say if the enemy, char inc is less than char total. So if 0 is less than 50, or 1 is less than 50, or 5 or 49 is less than 50, then all we're just going to do is, oh wait, actually we want to have the check logically in reverse. So it's greater than equal to, then char inc equals 0. Otherwise, char pool enemy inc dot set active. true. Okay, so what are we doing here? So we're calling the character pool, which is our chars pool. Oops, sorry. Chars pool. Char. Did I do that? Chars. It's all chars. Chars count. Okay, so I messed this up here. Chars inc. Chars total. Chars inc. Chars pool. Enemy inc. Oops. Chars inc. Sorry, it's enemy on the scripts that I'm referencing from my from Frioli. Okay, so what we do here is when we hit the swordsman button, it's going to take our increment, which right now starts at 0, and it's going to add 1. And if our increment is larger than the number of total characters we have, so if this is 55 or 51, and that's bigger than the total characters we have, 50, then it's going to set that incrementer back down to 0. And then it's going to say, okay, so now take that pool that we've made up here and take our number, whatever it is. If it's 0, then it's 0. So whatever is in our slot 0, just turn that active. Whatever's in our slot 2, turn that active. Whatever's in our slot 50, turn that active. And the reason why we have this check here is, you'll see what'll happen if I hit play. So we have all these characters, right? And how does it know which one to spawn? Sorry for the helicopter. Just the beauty of living next to the airport. So if it's spawned 47, and then I click the button again, it's going to spawn 48. I click the button again, it's going to spawn 49. I click the button again, it's going to be looking to spawn 50. But 50 doesn't exist, so it's going to throw an error. So what we do is check, okay, it spawned 48, it spawned 49, and then I click again, and it says, okay, I'm on 49, I'm going up 1, so I'm going to 50. If it's 50, then that means it does equal 50. It's either greater than or equal to 50. It's going to set that number back to 0. So even though I've clicked again at 49, it's going to be reset to 0 and looking at 0 character. So it'll find the 0 character. And spawn this guy instead, and then it'll spawn this one, etc., and back down the list. So super useful. So what we're still doing, however, is when we get close, we're destroying the game object. So what will end up happening is, even though we've created these 50 characters and put them all in memory, right now our script will destroy these characters systematically as they reach the castle. And then when we try to loop back in to start back at our 0, there won't be any 0 to spawn in because it will be destroyed. So we don't want to do that. So I'm just going to save this out real quick, go back to the movement, and instead of die destroy game object, I'm just going to have die do game object dot set active false. So now he stays in memory, he stays loaded, he just turns off. And we also want to have him reset his position. No, we don't need to do that. Because what we're going to do is have him set his position back to... So what's going to happen is he's going to end up over at the other castle, and he's going to turn off. And then when he turns back on again, he's going to turn on at the castle. He's already going to be in range, and he's going to turn off again immediately. And we probably won't even see him pop on and off. It'll probably just look like he's not working at all. So what ends up happening is, what we're going to need to do is, anytime he reaches the castle and turns off, he's going to need to reset his position back to his castle. So what we can do there is take this spawn placement position, and actually what I can do is, every time I spawn one, I can make that guy spawn at our spawn placement. So we'll do chars pool and chars incrementer. So this same guy that we're going to be spawning, we're going to set his position to equal our spawn placement dot position. So now whenever I load this guy in, he's already going to be at the right spot. He's already going to be at that doorway of our castle. So hit save, so he's no longer dying. And we go back here. Oops, I was still running the game. Not ideal. Okay, 92. So we got a little error here on frame 92. Oh, right, of course. I switched these all out to be transform based instead of game objects, so I just need to specify that I want to access game object component and set that to active. Set active to true there. We got one more error. That's because I wrote the word fastly instead of false. Well, fastly is the new false. I mean, it's taken over very, very quickly. So get with the times, guys. All right. So let's hit play. And let's hit play again. And so now this guy's going to cruise on over there. And he is not one of our swordsmen because he's his own little dude that's separate. Let's just try hitting our swordsman. So you see what happened is it spawned swordsman 1. Now it skipped 0 because that's where I've written it so that it will, the first thing it's going to do is increment up. So it starts at 0 and then increments up to 1. And then, so that's why it spawned our swordsman number 1. And you'll see as soon as he travels all the way across the screen, it takes a little while. He's right here. If you guys can't see him on the video. And there, he pops off. Swordsman 1 is still there, but it's just set off. So if I go back in here and just keep clicking guys, you'll see Swordsman 2 lights up, Swordsman 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, all these guys. So I've turned on all these 28 guys, and they're all cruising on over. And eventually they're going to get to the thing, and they're just going to turn themselves off. One by one, boom, 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 boom. They're still loaded in memory. Everything's still working. They're just now hiding again. So let's look at the turnaround here. So if I keep on loading in guys, we'll load up to 48 guys here. Just because why not? And eventually those guys are all going to reach their endpoint. And I'm actually gonna focus up here because what's gonna happen now I'm loading guy 49. And now if I click it again, it should loop back and load this first guy again. Now this first guy's already off. He's done what he's done. He did his thing, and he's just waiting for his next command. So I'm gonna click it again. You should see Swordsman 0 turn on, and it should pop up down here at the right location. And there we go, Swordsman 0 in the right spot. Now Swordsman 1 was the first one that actually traveled across the thing, and he is indeed popping up at the right spot too. So now I'm sort of looping back through my pool of enemies, or my pool of characters, a second time or a third time, and I can do this forever. Now the only place where this runs into an issue is if we needed to have more than 50 characters on the screen at any given time. Because what will end up happening is it's going to be trying to turn on guys that are still on and still active and still doing stuff. So that's why it's really important to sort of know before you start the game, or before you start, exactly how many guys you'll ever need to see on screen. That way you can be efficient with your number and not run into an issue where you're trying to turn on guys that are already on. Because what will end up happening is right now, I have them snapping back to their spawn position. So if you have a guy over here and he's fighting and he's doing some fun stuff, and all of a sudden you're like, I need to load another guy, and then he snaps back over here and starts walking, all health reset and everything, that's cheating. That's you can't do that. You should be able to do that. But whatever. Anyway, so now we have a pools system. This is efficient, this is clean, this is functional, and it is spawning our characters. Okay, so next thing, let's make sure our other buttons also spawn characters. So right now, they're all spawning the same guy. So I'm just gonna copy and paste this thing into these other two buttons as well. And just hit save. And because they're all referencing the same incrementer, the same incrementing number, up here, they are going to interact well with each other. So we'll spawn, maybe a a gunman, spawn an archer, spawn a swordsman, gunman. Now, of course, each one of these is actually spawning something, but it's all spawning the same swordsman because that's all we ever created. And that's fine. But what we really want to be doing is having it actually spawn the different character types. It's a little more complicated because I set these up already as animations instead of smooth moves, and I haven't included their weapons. So what I'm going to need to do is swap out the weapon based on the character that I'm loading, but it's also going to have to come with a bunch of unique scripts and stuff. So I have to pee, so I'll be back in just a minute, and then we'll get into something like that. Let me get this out of the way because I don't need my laptop anymore. Cool. Be right back. Okay, on my little adventure, I decided that instead of spawning characters, there are different characters right now, instead, let's make them shoot something. I think that'd be a little more exciting. And, once we get some shoot functionality going in one of these characters, then we can easily swap that out for a shoot functionality in the other characters as well. Okay, so let's make a new script. And we'll call this script attack. All right. And we'll drag the script attack onto our character did. And let's just edit the script here. Okay. Attack script for the dids and the vans. Make sure my game master for the dids and the vans. So you can see, I mean, like, if you were to show this to someone, they'd be impressed because they're like, whoa, you can script. But, you followed along with everything. We just made this in the last hour and 48 minutes. Nothing crazy going on, nothing exhausting. Just some simple commands. All right, so let's do bullet. There's gonna be a transform, and we'll do bullet speed. Oops, speed. And this will be a float, and we'll probably make this at like 20. So if our character's walking at 3, 20 seems fast. All right. Let's start with those two and see what else we need as we go. So we're going to need a target. Fair target, a transform of some sort, and that'll be collected on the fly. Their attack distance will be a float, and we'll set this to 10. So that's how far away an enemy has to be from you in order for you to start attacking. And actually, let's make that instead. Let's call it 20. Okay. We'll do dist. What did I do here for the movement? I like those. Dist between and dist check. We'll do the same thing. Dist between. Float equals 0 and dist check float equals 0. Oops, this dist between is actually going to be a vector 3. Cool. And that's going to be the distance between our target and our character. And we're going to collect targets as we go with a check sphere. What is a check sphere? Well, we'll get to that. Okay. So, if physics.checkSphere transform.position radius and we will actually use a layer mask for enemy mask. Oops. And we'll say within, we'll do a debug.log. Debug.log within range of enemy. 3 loud exclamation points. Okay, so we're gonna need an enemy mask. Enemy mask, which is a layer mask type. And if I just hit save right here, we can start editing some of these values. So our enemy mask is going to include the enemy castle. And so we'll put this on a layer called enemy. We'll do enemy. Yeah, enemy. That's fine. Radius. Oh, I forgot to make a radius thing here. So I'll do var. Actually, I'll put it right here. ATK radius. Float equals 20. Yeah. ATK radius. Oops. Okay. What's that? So we've got an enemy layer here. So do enemy. Oops, there we go. All right, and now if I go to my care did, and here's our enemy mask. We want it masking to nothing. We actually just want it masking to enemy. So it's just gonna be looking for that enemy. Okay. So if we're in range, we should start seeing this thing fill up. So let's just check this out real fast. So as our guy walks on over, he's gonna be within 20 units of the center of this castle. It should start saying within range of enemy. Oh, yeah, that's a pretty big distance. So 20 is really big. So let's make it 9. 9. So it's important because it's a variable. This isn't going to update when you save it here. You always have to change it here too. If you wanted to force it to always be based on what this is, there's a few ways of doing it. I think it's something you can exclude it from the editor. The way I always do it is just make it a private variable instead, and then it won't show up in the editor. But also you can't access it from other scripts. So there's pros and cons of that, but the easiest way is just to make sure you change it here too. That's what I would recommend. And again, I'm just gonna hit apply to make sure that all this stuff gets saved into my prefab. So all the little characters that I generate also have all these scripts on them. And we'll just do this one more time. And the reason why that check sphere is working the way it is is because it's only looking for things on the layer enemy, which is this stuff right here. Just this castle. And there we go. Perfect. That's actually a good range. So when we're within range of the enemy, now he's going to keep walking, and then eventually he's going to get to that point where he is close enough to the castle where he just turns off. And that was the end of the string. Otherwise, it's going to be calling it on every frame. Okay, so now that we've got that working, we need to give him a projectile. So for our projectile, we'll just make a 3D sphere. Sure. We'll call this thing bullet. And we'll zero out its position. And this will be called bullet. And let's put that bullet tag on there. Cool. And it's also going to be looking for enemies. So let's give it a script. Just go create script, JavaScript script, bullet. And I'm going to wait for a second until that, there we go. And drag it onto our bullet right there. And double click this guy. I'm going to say the bullets script for the dids and the vans. Right on. Okay, for bullet speed. I'm actually going to get that bullet speed from our attack script. It's going to be different based on the attack we're using or stuff like that. So we'll just leave it at 5 to start. And what do we want to do? So it's also going to need to have that layer mask. Call it a hit mask. And this is a different bullet script I made earlier. And a radius. It's going to have a radius. Fair hit radius. Float equals 5.0. No, 1.0. So transform dot, well, you know what? I can just copy this because this is pretty nice. Oh, and a timer. Okay, I see why I did that. This is pretty ingenious. Okay, so I'm actually just going to copy and paste this all because this is beautiful. Right, and let's just boop. Okay, so what I'm doing here is really simple. I am just going to destroy object, destroy this game object. Yeah, that's fine. Again, you know, this is that same thing I was talking about where we would want a pool for sure, because bullets are definitely something that there's going to be spawning a million of constantly. But I'm not going to bother setting that up right now because you guys already saw how that works. And that's great. And I would just have like a bullet group, like an empty game object that just will hold all the bullets, and then they'll spawn, you know, 500 bullets. And then all my other scripts would just access that bullet master whenever they need a bullet. But for now, we'll just leave it as instantiating brand new bullets and destroying them, you know, at runtime, because it's not going to make that big of an impact on our computer while we're working. Okay, so I'm just doing the same kind of thing I'm doing for the character, but just I'm doing a check sphere around it. And whenever it gets within a certain distance, which is 0.5 of that object, then it's going to destroy itself and hit the enemy. But if it misses and just goes into some random area and just starts, you know, traveling forever, after 4 seconds, it will kill itself. So 4 seconds is more than enough time for any bullet that's shot from any corner of the game to get completely off screen. Currently. Okay, so let's save out that bullet script there. And back here, let's go to bullet here and just make sure we set our mask to the right thing. So just wait for the updates. And our mask is going to be the enemy. Cool. All right. And let's make our bullet a prefab. And now, what I really should do is make this an empty game object. I'm gonna do that. So this is gonna be our bullet. And this is gonna be our bullet sprite. And our bullet sprite is gonna go into the bullet script. And we're gonna go do a copy and then a remove. We're gonna paste that component right in here. There we go. We're not going to need the sphere collider at all because I'm just going to turn it off for now. I'll probably remove it in a bit, but for now I'll just turn it off because we're going to be doing this all with physics checks instead of with actual in-game physics. So there's going to be no collisions happening. It's just going to be this checking with radiuses, radii, radicals. Anyway, I'm going to take this bullet and just drag it into my prefabs folder. I'll put it into the temp one because, try again. That's that weird because I'm working on the Dropbox thing. Okay, so we've got a bullet here. And in our did character, I'm just going to take this bullet and add it to our bullet holder. So now it's going to be spawning this game object anytime I want to spawn a bullet. And right now, this is actually going to be a bit of a thing for us because it's going to be translating based on the forward speed. So wherever we were facing, it's going to go in that direction. However, that's not really ideal because these characters aren't 3D facing anywhere. Their facing is just going to be sort of static. Like their rotations are never going to change. So this script right here, this transform to translate, isn't really going to help us at all. It's probably going to shoot the bullet straight to the right for some random reason. Or not random, but just unusefully to the right. But we can try it out. Script attack, within range of enemy. So what happens when we're within range of enemy? We're going to start instantiating bullets. Instantiate bullet, transform position, transform rotation. So again, this is our attack script, which is on our character that's walking around. So we're going to be spawning a bullet from the character walking around's position and the character walking around's rotation, which is 0, 0, 0. And that bullet is just going to be flying in some direction, which I think is going to be to the right. And what direction? How do I know what direction? This is vector3.forward. That is basically a way of saying vector3.100. So 1 in the x and 0 in the y and z. So 1 in the x would be pushing it 1 to the right. I believe that's what forward means. I think right might be x and forward might be z. So it might be coming straight at us, which it'll look like it's just hovering still because we're an orthographic camera. So it's, perspective shift as it passes us. It might just pop off. Anyway, we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. It's not going to be that interesting, but it's going to be something. That's for sure. All right. Instantiate the bullet. And so what's going to happen right here is if I just do it like this is on update, it's going to instantiate bullets. So it's going to be instantiating 24 bullets per second. And actually, I haven't limited this to 60 frames per second yet. So otherwise, it would be instantiating 60 bullets every second. It would just be a long bar of silver, or white rather in this case, just flying at that. I mean, it's ridiculous. So what we need to do is have some sort of a limiter that says when bullets can fire. So to do that, we need to add in another cat in the way. But I can't see the keyboard. I can't see anything. You have to go away. I know, it's very sad. All you want to do is stand on my keyboard. You need to leave. I'm sorry. Just, good boy. Yeah, just don't knock that cup off the table. That would not be good. Okay, sorry. So what we needed is some sort of way of limiting how many... Stop. Okay, you gotta go. I'm sorry, buddy. I love you. That's exactly what I didn't want to have happen. Okay, hold on. I got a bit of a crisis here. I spilled a bunch of sticky stuff all over the floor. Silly cat. All right. Back in business. Awesome. He had just gone to the bathroom too, so he brought litter onto the desk with him. What a joy. No, don't get me wrong. I love that cat. Love that cat like crazy. Just not while I'm recording. Okay, here we are, back again. Okay, so instantiate. All right, so we want to limit how fast this thing can shoot. So fair bullet, we'll call it APS for attack per second, and it's going to be every second. Boom, 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 boom. It's a pretty fast one. Every 1.5 seconds, bullet can shoot. So what we're going to do is set up a little timer. So I put a timer variable in almost all of my scripts. I think there's a smarter way to do it, but whatever. Timer plus equals time.delta time. If timer is greater than bullet APS, timer equals 0, but we also instantiate our bullet. So instantiate a new bullet, reset the timer, timer starts back at 0, counts up until it gets above 1.5. So this is just time.delta time is just sort of seconds. So 1.5 seconds, shoots a bullet, timer resets. 1.5 seconds, shoots a bullet, timer resets. And that just keeps on going forever, as long as we're within range. As soon as we get out of range, though, we'll just do an else. So if we're not in range, then the timer is going to be back at 0. That way, it's not like, you know, the timer got to 1.4 seconds, then the thing got out of range, and then as soon as he gets back in range, it would shoot instantly. Oh, actually, you know what? I do want it to shoot instantly. Okay, we'll figure that out in a second. Okay, whatever. Let's just leave it like this for now, just so we can see that it's working, and then we'll figure out how to get it to shoot. Like, as long as the 1.5 seconds has elapsed. It seems really easy. I'm not thinking about it yet. Okay. So let's just make sure that this is working. But what we're going to need is for that bullet. Okay, so this is where it's going to get fun. We're actually going to have one script talk to another script. So we're going to have the attack script talk to the bullet script. And how we're going to do that is by, instead of just blindly instantiating a bullet and then letting it do its thing, we're going to make sure that we know what that bullet's called so we can access it. So it's going to be called new bullet, which is going to be a transform. Nope. No, it's going to be a game object. We're making a game object. Equals instantiate bullet. Oh. I think that'll work. Master, what am I doing here? I'm instantiating transforms. All right, it's great. Transform, great, groovy, excellent. So our new bullet is going to have some scripts on it. New bullet dot transform dot get component script bullet dot target equals our target. So the target in here, I don't have a target variable. Their target is a transform. And instead of shooting it straight at nothing, I'm instead going to be shooting it at our target. Transform dot transform dot position equals vector 3 dot move towards transform dot position target dot position time dot delta time. We want to do bullet speed times time dot delta time. Oh, I just called it speed. Speed. So it's going to take this 10 and add it based on this. The other thing we want to do is control our speed. Cool. Control our speed based on our bullet speed up here. So we're going to not only send it a target to attack, we're also going to send it a... Oh, let's just actually do a little quick check here. If target, because what will happen otherwise is it'll instantiate before we've actually had a chance to give it a target, and for that one frame, it'll throw an error. So for that one frame, it's just not going to do anything, and then the end of that first frame, it's going to get a target, and then it's going to be like, oh, I have a target now, so now I'm going to start moving to where I need to be moving to. And let's just drop that in there. So as long as it's got a target, then it'll start moving. If it doesn't have a target, it's just going to freeze. It's going to stop. So we'll also say, no, we're not going to do that. I was going to say else destroy game object, but no, we don't want to do that. That's no good. Because it would destroy itself on the first frame because it doesn't have a target on the first frame. Okay, so there's our script bullet, and our script attack is going to send our target for our enemy to the bullet. And then we're also going to do new bullet transform get component script bullet dot speed equals bullet speed. So here we're also going to say the speed of the bullet should be determined by our variable bullet speed, which is inside of our attack script. That way this bullet can be a little bit more generic, and I can use it as a an arrow or a cannonball or you know, a paper airplane or whatever, and whatever thing I'm going to be attacking with will determine how fast it should travel. So hit save there too. Switch back over, make sure that we don't have any errors, and we do because I typed too fast. Script bullet 23, and it looks like I may have clipped off. Yep, forgot to add the semicolon. Save that. Go back here. Oop, looks like, oh, new bullet. I don't know why I keep on putting a capital U, or I keep on capitalizing weird things. There it is. I'm blaming it on the new keyboard. That's what I'm blaming it on. Hope it's not too loud for everybody either. I don't even know it. And it's a very loud, clacky keyboard. Kind of like it, but it is very loud. Okay, so so he's gonna start shooting, and he's gonna keep walking as he eventually just dies off. So let's just watch this in action. I'm just gonna hit apply here, make sure that it's all saved into our prefab, and let's watch our little guy here. Actually, hold on, I'm gonna maximize on play so you guys can see it a little bit better. Maximize, and there he goes, off to see the wizard. And eventually when he gets about here, he's gonna start shooting. Pretty good. So you see what happened is nothing useful happened. It created the bullets, which are gigantic, and after 4 seconds the bullet died because we have a timer on the bullet to kill itself after 4 seconds. Problem was the bullet wasn't actually moving. So what ended up happening is either it didn't have a target, or this is wrong. I messed up here. So I think the first thing I'm going to assume is that it didn't have a target. So how do we check if it had a target or not? Well, let's first of all move this little character a lot closer so I don't have to wait so long for him to actually start shooting. And let's make the bullet a lot smaller because it looks hilariously gigantic. So we'll do like a 0.5 or something. Okay. And we'll hit go. Oops. All right, so I'm gonna have to turn off this maximize on play just so we can see what's going on in the scene. I'm gonna get ready to hit pause here in a minute. The range, okay, great. So it made a bullet. Now let's take a look at why our bullet is not working. So if I'm gonna twirl up this because we don't need to see that right now. Here's our new bullet. And actually our new bullet doesn't even have the right name. It's called bullet clone. It should be called new bullet. Well, that would make sense why it's not getting a target and all sorts of stuff. So I'm guessing that it does not like the fact that I named this. Oh. Yeah, this should be a game. Wait, no, it doesn't really matter, right? Game object. Let's see. Yeah, no, it wants it. Okay. Shouldn't matter. New bullet, transform. Instantiate new bullet. Oh, well, I'm not renaming it to anything. So yeah, that's actually fine. Transform. I don't need this because I'm already accessing the transform. Transform, get component, script bullet, target. That's probably what it was, actually. Because I'm so used to working with game objects. I'm used to this being a game object, not a transform. I always throw that transform in there. So basically I was saying transform.transform.getComponent, and that's 2 levels deep. I'm surprised it didn't throw an error, but oh well. So now this bullet should move. It doesn't. Okay, great. It's okay. So it still doesn't have a transform, that's why. Speed's accurate though. It's getting the right speed. Oh, I don't know. Bullet speed dot target. Let's check here. Target, yeah. Target's transform. So new bullet dot get component script bullet dot target equals our target. I wonder why that's it's not working. Oh, wait a second. Do I have a target yet? Of course I have a target. Oh wait, no, this is the attack script. The attack script doesn't have a target. Of course, my move script has a target, not my attack script. Okay, so I need to send my attack script my target. Or what I can do is just, yeah, that's probably the smartest way to go, is to send my attack script my target. So here's what we're gonna do, is whenever we have a target, close target destroy, so we're gonna move to target. First off, oh man, the cat turned on that touch again. Yikes. So we'll say send target to attack script. Transform dot dot script attack dot target equals target. So here we're just taking we're just loading the component within our master. We're going back to the transform, and then we're finding the new component, script attack, and we're finding the target variable inside of there and assigning it with our target, which is from our movement. This way, as we're moving around the scene and we encounter enemies, the first thing we encounter is the enemy, and then that gets sent to the attacker. The attack then says, okay, we have a new enemy, start attacking the enemy. And the bullet knows exactly which enemy to go to. So these are all going to be magnetized bullets, like homing bullets. And yeah, that makes more sense too, because you're not actually going to be able to control where the enemy is attacking. You're just going to be able to control that it's attacking another enemy. A little more automatic. So a little less skill involved in terms of shooting specifically, but you're going to be managing, 50 guys or maybe even 200 guys at any given time. You're not going to be able to aim them all. It's an auto attack. Okay, cool. So now we know that that is good to go. And now we should see that our bullet gets a guy, or gets the target, and shoots straight at, yep. Boop. Okay, well he shot twice, but second one, kind of hard to see. And the reason why is because of our timer. Okay, so how are we going to get around this timer thing? So let's just have the timer kicking up, and it's just going to keep kicking up forever and ever and ever until we shoot. So instead of it being based on yeah, there we go. So we'll pull this out of the check sphere. So that timer is always going to be ticking up since the beginning of the game. And because, so even if we get out of range, timer equals 0. So I want to turn this off. It's not doing us any favors. So even if we get out of range or we're not in range in the beginning, our timer is still ticking up. So this timer is going to be, potentially at like 90 or 500 or whatever until we count our first enemy. And because it's way over our 1.5, it's going to shoot, it's going to shoot, it's going to shoot, it's going to shoot. But as soon as we get out of range again, it's just going to keep going up, and it's going to go to 500, 2,000, whatever, until we shoot again. And that, I don't think really is a memory hit kind of at all, because it's just counting a number. Something that this entire system is doing a bajillion times every 3 seconds. I don't think that's going to be any kind of a performance hit to have that continually counting up. And we'll just double check this. We'll make our radius. Okay, so here's what we're going to do now is as soon as we get to what I'm going to do here is actually, so this is a performance hit, is when I'm sending the target, because I'm calling it through a component, get component, and calling the script. What we'd want to do instead is create a variable that holds that attack script first. So we'll do var atk script is of the type script attack. And then here in the first thing, we're going to do atk script equals transform, yikes. Okay, so now I can just do this instead. Attack script dot target equals target, because now all this is loaded into this little variable here, and it's of the type of our script. And I'm gonna do the same thing up here for our var move script. It is of type script movement. And down here, move script equals transform dot get component script movement. So now I can access my move script. So of course, if I am in range of an enemy, then I'm going to want to stop moving the character, ideally. So let's do this. Movement. We'll do, if we have a target, if move care is true, we'll put all this stuff inside of that. And move care is going to be a Boolean as well, so we'll put it underneath this other one, move care. Start off as true. When false, care stops moving. Attack script. So this just helps remind me that this is coming from the attack script, whether it's true or false. So it's true by default. And here's what we're going to do is say whenever we are within range to start attacking, stop moving character forward. And we'll do move script, move script dot, what did I just call it? Move care. Move care equals false. And that way our character will stop moving. And all this stuff will basically stop happening until our character is dead, which won't happen at all because we can't kill this castle yet. I can do is, yeah, no, this is fine. It's temporary. It's steps in the right direction. So now as soon as he gets in range, he's going to stop moving. And he's just going to sit there and shoot that enemy castle until he's tired. And it looks like he's actually really hitting the castle, but that's kind of just a lucky side effect of our radius. That seems to be the exact right point. And what we can do is, you know, as soon as it hits the castle, it can take damage away from the castle and stuff like that. But what I want to do is actually change his animation a little bit now, so that he's in his running animation when he's moving, and he's in his idle animation when he's still. So this is a really easy one. So movement, back to the movement scripts. And at the very top here, we'll do bone anim stuff. So we'll do care anim. This is going to be of a type bone animation. This is a smooth moves thing. This isn't a Unity thing. So oops, var care anim bone anim animation. Just gonna hit save there, so I can assign his bone animation to him. And okay, I'm gonna need to import these smooth moves. All right, and there goes that. So now we've got our smooth moves set of functions imported. So now we can, this bone animation will actually work or show up. So right here we've got our script movement. There's our new bone animation. I'm going here to just grab this guy who has the bone animation script on him and just drag it right in there, just like that. And I'm going to reapply. So that way all my characters can be controlling their own bone animation scripts. Now that I've got that good, so if move character play moving animation, so we'll do care anim dot play. I think this is the right syntax. Walking. Is that what I called it? Care did. We have two animations in here. Idle and walk. Okay, I just called it walk. Yeah. Otherwise, so if he's moving, he's playing walk. If he's not, it's gonna be ooh, yikes. Else care anim dot play idle. I think it's that easy, if I remember correctly. All right, read everything, checked everything. So if I scoot him back a little bit more, we should be able to see him doing a walking animation first, and then switching over and doing a, yeah, there we go. I don't need a 3D view of this. Okay, so let's hit save real fast and let's watch him. So yep, that is his walking animation. It's very silly. And there's his idle animation. Perfect. So it's switching between the two animation states. So now if I instantiate some guys, they're all going to instantiate with their silly walk. See, they all got that weird Elaine kick thing. And then as soon as they reach that spot, they all switch back to regular. Now they're all shooting like crazy every 2 seconds or so. Pretty darn exciting. Look at that. In the course of 2 hours and 34 minutes, we went from a few pictures to a game that sort of does some stuff. I say sort of does some stuff because that's really the extent of what we have so far. A bunch of sortas, a bunch of doings, and a bunch of stuffs. All right. So the last thing I'm going to do here today, right now, I say I'll probably come on a little bit later today and do some more streaming, but I'm a little tired. I want to take a little break, play some Heroes of the Storm. Shh, don't tell anyone. It's Sunday after all. Anyway, all right, so last thing I want to do is just randomize their position a little bit, because right now they're all walking in a perfectly straight line, and that's no fun. Just doesn't really make a whole lot of make a very interesting looking game. So how are we going to randomize their position and still get them to the location they need to be going to? I have no idea. Actually, I really don't know how I'm going to do that. I need to give them like an offset that they can multiply into their path. That changes. Oh man. I have no idea how to do that. Okay. You know what? I'm going to stop now. I'm going to give it some thinking so you guys don't have to watch me sit here and think about it. And then when I come back later today, or maybe tomorrow, the next day or something soon, I'll have an answer and we'll just get started on that. And we'll also add our other characters' weapons. We'll add weapons in general. We'll make some artwork for the real bullet. We'll make some artwork for the arrows. We'll do some animations for them shooting and stuff, like an attack animation and all that fun stuff. Yeah. Cool. Well, anyway, regardless, now we've got something going. It's something further than it was. But thanks everybody for joining me, and I hope you guys learned something. Hope this was helpful. Please leave comments in the video, whatever. Check out almightypixel.com. This is the site that I'm putting all these tutorials up on as I continue making my nephew's next game, or my other nephew's game, I should say, is probably more accurate. Yeah, anyway, hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks for being here. Yeah, I'll catch you guys next time.